All right. Thanks for joining me, Greg. So today I have Greg Dickerson. I'm going to go a little bit into his experience, but just to touch quickly on the topic. So today we're going to talk about alternative ways people in optometry and other medical professions can build income streams outside of what they're doing in the medical field. So a little bit about Greg. Greg, this is a topic you know a lot about. That's fair to say, isn't it?
Yeah. So I work with a lot of medical professionals all over the world, in fact. And, the number one thing they're all looking to do is, number one, how do I get out of, the day-to-day of my practice? Number two, how do I grow and scale my practice? Number three, how do I build wealth in other ways without affecting what I do every day? And four, what are alternative businesses that I can get into from an entrepreneurship standpoint to grow my wealth and build a future so that I'm not relying on having to work every single day in my practice? So those are the things that people come to me for and that I help them with. And it's everything from investing in real estate to starting other businesses, growing and scaling their existing practice, and even rolling up other professional practices underneath theirs, like optometrists, opening multiple locations, buying other practices, dentist, orthodontist, those types of things. So a lot of different ways that you can grow and scale your wealth and your business and your practice without affecting what you do on the day-to-day.
Well, I'm excited to dig in. So your website's dickersoninternational.com. And Greg was my coach, and you've helped me really transform my business. You've helped me transform my way of thinking. And just some more credentials on Greg. He's sold and developed over $250 million in real estate, built and renovated hundreds of houses in commercial buildings. And I don't know where you found the time to do all this, Greg. And also had 12 companies he built from the ground up. So, where do you tell people to start?
So, well, number one, it's education. You got to educate yourself. You need to understand what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, what you're interested in, and what your abilities are. So for me, I'm not formally educated. I didn't go to college, went in the Navy right out of high school, and then educated myself along the way. And in 1997, I'm a natural born entrepreneur, but in 1997, I started my first company. I started my full-time entrepreneurial journey. And I took a company from zero, absolutely no money, no background, no backing, no nothing, little remodeling handyman company. I started that from zero, took it to 30 million in 7 years, turned it into a luxury home building company, real estate development company, one of the largest in the area, sold it. And along the way, I reinvested those profits into other assets that generated cash flow to grow and scale and buy it. So, during that first 7 to 10 year period, I was able to, buy, develop, and sell about $250 million in real estate using my own funds, my own financing that was not with outside investment capital. And then I've done another 400 or 500 million with, investor capital in addition to that. And then during that 7 to 10 year period, initially the first 7 year period is when I started 12 other companies. Some were from the ground up, some of them were acquisitions. I grew those, scaled those with the operators that I had in place, and then we exited those companies and again reinvested profits from those into other ventures, other development projects, other investment projects, things like that. So it starts with, number one, understanding. So if you're a W-2 employee, medical professional, optometrist, dentist, physician, whatever it is, X-ray tech, you're a W-2 employee, so your tax advantages are going to be limited. So what you need to understand is that's like your business. So your career, your W-2 job, that is your business. So what you need to think about is, I have this income coming in. How can I exponentially grow and scale that? Because you're busy, you're working every day and you've got very little time off. And when you do, you may have a family or whatever that you have to spend it with, but you've got to dedicate some time off peak hours, educating yourself and learning about other avenues to invest in so that you can ultimately replace that day to day that you're having to go to every single day. Dentists, getting out of the mouth, getting out of the chair, physicians getting out of the OR, getting out of the office, those types of things. So you've got to educate yourself on real estate if that's what you're interested in. What does the market look like? What type of properties you're interested in? Most of you are going to own a house. You're going to own your practice, your building that your practice is in, or maybe you're leasing. So that's kind of where it starts in terms of understanding real estate. It's an income expense contemplation. And then there's tax advantages that come with real estate ownership. Hopefully they'll stick around. This is 2021 and we're not sure what the tax environment is going to look like for real estate moving forward, but right now it's very tax advantaged. And you can do what's called 1031 tax exchanges when you're buying and selling properties to grow and scale. So that's really where it starts. It starts with understanding the business, understanding how finance works in real estate. If you're interested in entrepreneurship and starting another business, what are your talents? What are your skills? What are the advantages that you have in the marketplace that are proprietary that people are willing to exchange money for? Something or can do that you can offer out to the marketplace that doesn't take away from your day to day. So, those are other ways to create other ventures that you can get into. And then of course there's, rolling up other practices, rolling up other businesses and investing in other businesses. Maybe you find an operating partner like Peter, who has a digital media company and they need growth capital. So you come in and you partner with them and you provide, some growth capital for them and maybe some expertise, and, they work in the business and grow it. So that's one of the ways that I was able to do so many businesses, was that I had great operators that I would come in and I would either buy their company and grow them, or I would invest in them and grow them. And I would provide the leadership and the guidance and the intellectual capital. They would put in the work, the sweat equity. We would grow the company and then sell it. And, I've done that multiple times. So those are some of the ways that, that people can get started and some of the things they can look at. But it all starts with education. You got to learn what it is that you're interested in, and then start educating yourself on that market, whatever that market is. And then you start taking action in terms of getting out there and, buy your first property, get into your first development, buy your first building, or buy a company, roll one up into your practice and, take those next steps.
And I know working with me, you helped me acquire this building I'm in, and helped me figure out the best way to save time while, having the property managed by someone else. So kind of goes into this question of, because optometry, that's the industry we specialize in, and optometrists are very savvy, but they're also very busy with their practice, and they also enjoy a lot of them enjoy work-life balance. So any tips as far as does it take more focus to start another business with a partner, or does it take more focus to run real estate? Do you have any tips with that in mind?
Yeah. So real estate is probably the most passive, hands-off approach to building wealth that you could contemplate. Getting into a business with somebody requires sometimes you've got to have some specific expertise. You got to make sure you've got the right operating partner. And if something goes wrong there, you may potentially have to step in and take over. So that can be a little bit more time intensive, a little bit more hands-on if you don't have the right individual. If you've got the right individual and they've built a team and the systems are in place, you don't have to worry about that. So it depends on what level that business is in. The easiest thing to do for an optometrist is to roll other practices up within yours, or expand your footprint and open more clinics. Then you recruit, hire, train, lead, delegate, motivate a team around you so that you're not in the day-to-day. So optometry, that's a very easy thing to do and scale. But let's say you're just, owner operator, one location, and you want to get into real estate, that is very scalable, and it doesn't take a lot of your time, because really you can look at real estate anytime while you're having lunch, while you're, have a few minutes of downtime. You can evaluate deals, evaluate properties, and it's income and expenses, dollars in, dollars out. What you bought's a little bit different. We'll talk about that in terms of repositioning an older building, adding value and all the little nuances. But if you're going to buy it, own it, and rent it out, you can hire property management companies, third-party property management companies that handle all the day-to-day. They handle the leases, the collections. They can even pay the expenses of the property for you. Some property management companies will do everything, including paying the mortgage. You just have to monitor that. Or you can choose to pay the bills yourself, and they just handle the tenant side, income coming in, the leases, and managing the expenses of the maintenance and things like that. So it can be very hands-off, very turnkey. Even in real estate development, it's even easier if you want to become a developer and develop a building. So I work with some optometrists that are developing strip centers right now, and they're doing medical strip centers ground up. And maybe their practice is one of the tenants, and maybe they have the dentist, maybe they have a medical, quick medical practice, like the Medical Express, kind of things, family urgent care. That's what I'm looking for, urgent care type center. And then maybe, a couple other medical complementary practices in there. And, maybe it's 10,000 to 20,000 square foot, like strip center. So that's totally turnkey. You identify the site, you hire the right general contractors. You can hire consultants to come in and take it through the entitlement process, things like that. So that's very hands off. But what you got to do is you got to find the site. identify the right site, make sure that you have the right team, and then you've got to arrange the financing. So with real estate and investing in real estate, it's very easy, very scalable, doesn't take a lot of your time, but those are the keys that you need. You need the right expertise in terms of the market area where you want to be, because you can't just build it and they will come. You can't just buy it and they will rent. It's got to be the right product in the right location, like you found, where there's demand. And when you're buying an existing asset, it's like buying a business. You already have tenants in place, you already have management in place a lot of times, and you're buying an existing income stream. So your job maybe is to just keep it going. It's like an annuity, and you don't really have to do anything. Or you buy it like you did, and you renovate it, you add value to it, and then you release the spaces and generate more income. And then you can sell that asset, refinance, pull your cash out, and redo it. Which is the ultimate way to go. If you can buy these assets, increase the income, refinance them, pull your equity out tax-free, redeploy that, and just grow and scale from there. At the end of the 20, 30-year cycle, depending on your financing, you have these assets that you own free and clear that are generating perpetual income.
And I think, kind of what's going on in my head when you're saying some of this is it's probably going to depend on where the person is in their career, because, in particular to this building that you helped me turn around and do value add, I'm guessing in most circumstances, it's a more time intensive versus something that's just completely turnkey, ready to go.
It can be, it depends. Like yours, it needed a lot of work. So there was more time intensive there, and you were wanting to, kind of manage some of that yourself. But value add can be as simple as marking to market, marking the rents to market. So you could buy a property that maybe just needs a little cleanup, and, simply you're just raising the rents to market value, whereas the previous owner just didn't do that, or, didn't want to wait for the rents to cycle and, things like that, or for the leases to recycle. So it can be that simple. It can be as, simple as maybe you're just updating interior units. Again, your property management company can handle all that for you. Or if you have the time and desire, you can do it yourself. But I recommend hiring professionals, letting them do it, and the management company can kind of help you with that. And then it can be, exterior improvements, amenities, depending on the size of the property. If you're doing a smaller 6 or 8 unit like you bought, or you're doing, a 200 unit deal. And, with medical professionals, generally you're going to know optometrists, you're going to have clients, you're going to have other physicians, other optometrists, other people that that have capital. You can pool them together with you and buy bigger properties, 200 units, 400 units. And that's a lot of what I help people with, especially physicians, that have a network. They can raise the capital. They need the expertise to move forward. So I've got a lot of people that I'm teaching how to do that as well.
And I hope to be on that level someday of the 200 units. And
you're getting there. You got to start where you can start. You wanted to do it yourself to learn it. So you started where you could with your resources, and you have a great start. I mean, you've built what, $200,000-$300,000 in equity in your first deal.
Absolutely.
And I don't even think, how much did you pay for that?
$450.
Yeah. So you paid $450, you put 100 and something in it, and, you've got $200,000-$300,000 worth of equity in, less than a year. So, I mean, that's a great start.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm very happy with it. So I guess one question I have is, one area of investment for optometrists and anyone in the medical field is, like you said, expansion. And our largest optometry client has 7 locations. Just wondering your thoughts on what are the biggest challenges and overcoming the biggest challenges for that, whether it's, acquisition versus starting fresh. And I'm guessing getting talent might be one of the biggest challenges with expansion that way.
Yeah, it can be, but there's ways to do that. Recruiting the right people out of school, to bring on board with you and grow and scale them. And maybe you give them an opportunity to get ownership or equity in the business. But the key is you got to become a leader, delegator, motivator. So number one, you need to know how to recruit, hire, train. And then once you've got them in, you need to know how to lead, delegate, motivate. And your job as the leader is to provide that clear direction in no uncertain terms, exactly what everybody expects and when, what they're supposed to do. You have to measure that performance, hold the performance accountable to the goal. So it requires you developing yourself as a leader. If you're going to open, practices versus acquisitions, then you have to know how to find space, negotiate the lease, build it out, understand what those costs look like, things like that. So that's a task in and of itself versus targeting existing practices, rolling them up into the umbrella of what you're doing. Maybe you give them a little bit of equity, because if you roll up, 10, 12, 20 of these, and you put together a nice solid back office with infrastructure, human resource infrastructure, managing the billing and appointments and things like that, and all the supplies, ordering, stuff like that, then you've created something that you can sell for a multiple of your EBITDA, earnings before interest, taxes, appreciation and amortization, or depreciation and amortization. That's going to trade at a multiple of, whatever it is at any point in the market. Right now, you can probably get a 10, 12x on that to an equity fund. And you can buy those at a 4x to the owner. So you're providing that owner an early exit. They can get a little bit of a cash out now. They still have a steady income stream. And then they've got a big payday later when that whole enterprise sells once you roll them all up. So a lot of different ways to do that, to skin that cat. But the key is you've got to develop yourself as a leader. You've got to have a system of management in place that automates recruiting, hiring, training, and then leading, delegating, motivating once they're in place and keeping that system going. Yeah.
And you really opened my eyes working with you on a lot of those items and really transforming the business. And the one thing is for me doing those is just making sure you come in, and this is probably more of the leadership with that energy every day that you can accomplish all that and really motivate the team. So,
and consistent, people want to know what they're dealing with on a daily basis. And, business is stressful, and a lot of, medical professionals, they're not taught, number one, the skills of leadership, the skills of business, the skills of investing. They're taught how to do their practice, how to do what it is they do. And I think, dealing with people is something that, is very difficult for a lot of people to learn. And I work with a lot of medical professionals that, just never learned that side of the human resource equation and how to be a leader, how to be a manager, and how to be consistent. And, it's all about understanding yourself first, your strengths, weaknesses, your personality traits, the DISC profile, and then understanding that in everybody that you surround yourself with, and bringing the right people into the organization that, number one, understand your vision, understand your mission, and buy into that. And then giving them the ability and the opportunity to grow with the organization and to do what you brought them in to do. That's the biggest mistake people make, is they'll bring somebody in for a role or a task, and then they'll micromanage them and they won't let them do what they brought them in to do. And people want to contribute. They want to make a difference and make an impact. And if you hold them back and you don't let them do what you brought them in to do, it's very discouraging to people. So it's not always about the money. A lot of times it's about the contribution, allowing them to make that contribution, understanding strengths and weaknesses, putting the right people in the right places in the right job, and then letting them do that job.
Yeah, no, and that's a lot of what you taught me. That was struggle for me. So
it's hard to let go.
So important. Well, and you kept saying to me, you're creative, and being a creative person, it's a little bit, I find, harder to kind of let go sometimes, but having the right people in place and being able to let go. And I think that kind of leads into the last thing I wanted to talk about. And that's just, we've talked about real estate, we've talked about expansion, and just talking about potentially working with another business through a partnership. And I know some optometrists locally, they might have equity stake in, like one that comes to mind is a distillery, because that's big up here in Maine, breweries and distilleries. So just talk a little bit about what to look out for when potentially looking to invest in and I'm guessing a local or regional business.
Yeah. So if you want to put your resources to work investing in other businesses, and it can be any business, well, number one, in your own business, there's two ways to increase your revenues. One, sell more to more people, or have more people to sell your services to. So you want to think about, what are other revenue streams that I can introduce within my practice? So if you're an optometrist, there's a lot of things and a lot of ways that you can increase your revenues and generate different revenue centers, especially online. You've got to be online. You've got to have a presence out there online with your digital marketing. It's huge. If you're not marketing online, you're missing a ton of potential and opportunity. It's not always about the number of people that walk in for an appointment. There's other things that you can offer all of those people around just eye care and just those types of things. Speaking of optometrists, there's a lot of different things just besides eyeglasses or contacts or whatever it is that you can offer. So you want to think about that. How can I create other revenue streams? And then you've got to market and drive traffic online as well as offline into your physical location. So when you're looking to invest in other businesses, number one, you got to make sure that you understand the business itself. You want to do a little bit of homework, get to know the business, make sure you sort of understand it. You want to make sure that the operator is an expert at what they're doing, that the business has a good operator. You want to check the financials, you want to check the operator. You want to make sure that you vet them thoroughly, with background checks, all those types of things before you get into investing with somebody. Because, that's a marriage. Once you commit capital into a relationship with an individual, that's like being married to them. So you want to understand where they stand financially, where the business stands financially. You want to see the tax returns. You want to see the income statements. You want to talk to their bankers, those types of things. So do your homework, do your due diligence, and make sure you understand the investment, and never invest more than you can afford to lose. So you need to look at every investment like that. An equity investment in a business that can get wiped out overnight. Real estate, it's not. You're going to own the asset. It's going to generate income. So even if you buy wrong, at least there's still income coming in. So chances are you'll be protected. But with investing in a business, investing cash in a business, that can go away. Business closes, whatever, that can go away. So you need to make sure you understand what it is you're investing in, and you're not investing more than you can afford to lose, and be ready for that. So it's all about risk assessment in any investment. What a lot of people think assessing risk is how good is this going to do? What assessing risk really is what's the worst case scenario, and are you able to withstand the loss of that worst case scenario? So that's what calculating and understanding risk is.
Yeah, absolutely. And you said, kind of just in closing, one thing that resonates for me is, we do eye care engines. It's my main thing, working with optometrists, but I also have a local agency here with a business partner. And, one thing you said you can offer to these businesses is leadership and guidance. I think you said intellectual capital. And the one advice I have is, just because you have equity stake in a business doesn't mean that you stop providing that leadership and that coaching to whoever that manager is, that CEO. Because that's one thing that I've learned is the more I can work to develop that person and help coach that person, the more motivated they are to go out and make the business succeed even more.
Yeah, and that depends on the operator in the business. So some may be in need of that. Others might be just they're dialed in and all they need is the capital to get them to the next level, and you don't have to do anything because they're already there. Yeah. So it just depends on where they're at and what your level of interest is in terms of being available to that individual and to that organization. So a couple of different ways to look at it. And that's part of the vetting process is, number one, understanding, do you want to find somebody that you have to kind of contribute, or do you want just total passive? You invest the capital, there's a 2x return in 5 years and 18 IRR, whatever. Those are the things you need to understand. And for most medical professionals, it's going to be a hands-off approach initially, at least until they get to the point to where maybe they have a little bit more time. They've got some systems in place, and they can get out and do a few more things, and they're not tied to the day-to-day operations.
Well, that's all a lot of great stuff. So thank you so much. And I'm going to try to pull you back in and pick your brain a little bit more, later on.
Let's do it. Maybe, talk about how other opportunities to maximize revenue within their existing practice, their existing business, how to grow that footprint, and what kind of marketing they need to be doing.
So where can people find out more? I mentioned Dickerson International. I know you have an amazing YouTube channel. You're posting pretty much every day. What's the best way for people to connect with you?
Yeah. So that's it. And the easy one to remember is gregdickerson.com. So that goes to the same thing, to my business website. So yeah, everything's there, my YouTube channel, podcast, all that. And if somebody wants to reach out for anything, I have courses. I do offer coaching and mentorship as well. As Peter mentioned, I've been mentoring him for about a year now. So, those are on my website as well. And go check it out.
All right. Well, thank you so much.